Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This little guy is the Kansept RIO. Little tiny interesting liner lock. So real quick, I'm going to link this knife down in the description because it is definitely available. You can get the crazy ultra spicy version that you're seeing here, which, you know, a lot of people are going to think, oh my God, I'm sure that thing is like wildly expensive. Not really. This is like a plasma anno. It's not Damascus. And then we have Kansept's Damascus steel, which is likely a 9CR, 10CR combination. So this is about a $140 version of this, which is still a lot of money for a little tiny knife, but probably not as much as you might have expected. The interesting thing is the base version of this knife comes in G10 and M390 for $80, which is still a lot for a little knife, but it's also kind of funny because it's $80 for M390, right? So depending on how you look at it, it might be, you know, an amazing deal or not an amazing deal, but that's just factually what it is. You can also get it in micarta and a couple other variants. So between $80 and $140 is what this thing comes in at. Just wanted to get that information out of the way before we got started. It does help my channel when you use my links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to Kansept Knives for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. You'll notice that I am sort of top flipping it there instead of front flipping it. We'll talk about that. Overall length of the RIO is coming in at it's not even 4 inches, 3.9 inches. Blade length is coming in at about 1 1/8. Cutting edge is also coming in at about 1 1/8. Probably not going to be illegal in many places unless it is illegal to carry locking knives, because this is definitely a locking knife. Let's go ahead and just do a couple of size comparisons here up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. It's pretty small. How about up against the Demco AD 20.5? There we go. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? There we go. And then finally, let's go ahead and put it up against the Benchmade Bug Outs. All right. It's tiny, right? Little tiny thing. How's the action? Disengagement of the liner lock is actually pretty good. Front flipping it, I'm going to tell you right now, it's kind of dangerous. This is a scar from this knife. When you try to front flip it, because it is so small, the natural position that you put your hands in, or at least with mine, is like this, cat's paw, and then you sort of do this. Now you can do it, but the problem is that the knife, if it slips out of your hand at all, you can see how that thing got me while I was front flipping it. The entire length of the knife will fit within the palm of my hand, and most of you watching will be the same. When you front flip this knife, there's a good chance, because it is so small and because it's hard to get a purchase on this thing while you're awkwardly deploying it with your thumb, there's a decent chance that you're going to accidentally slice yourself. So if you're going to buy this, I found the safest way to deploy it is actually to just pinch it like this, reach over and top flip it with your index finger. There's still a pretty good chance you're going to throw it or drop it. So just keep that in mind. This is a knife that you're going to want to, you know, kind of adapt to. It is not convenient to deploy it versus your traditional sized EDC folding knives. The action is, you know, it's pretty good for it being a teeny tiny little knife. It's not going to drop shut or anything like that, but you can actually shake and get it to close. It's running on bearings. It's kind of typical Kansept. It's just the blade is just not big enough to assist with closing in any way. You're going to have to do it with two hands, or you're going to have to shake it around like a weirdo while you're, you know, trying to get it to close. So yeah, just keep in mind it's not difficult to accidentally cut yourself with this knife. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. I don't even know if we need to do this, right? This is going to fit in your pocket, right? Unless you have the tiniest of pockets, it's going to fit in your pocket. Materials. Like I said, we have on this version titanium, then we have a steel liner lock, or at least I believe that to be steel. It is steel. And then we have the Damascus, most likely 9CR, 10CR combination blade. Weight, probably nothing. I don't know if the ratios are actually going to be good, but the knife itself weighs, it still comes in at 2 ounces. The G10 versions will obviously be lighter, right? You know, does it really make sense to talk about balance and ratios with this thing? I mean, it'll be fine. Let's see here. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, we need to do the hardware check. Let's get out my tools as per usual. My tools would be are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. The pivot is a T8. The screws here are a T6, and there's no pocket clip screw or screws because there is no pocket clip. If you really want to take this thing apart, it's going to be pretty simple. Not much else to say there. Blade stock thickness, I'm going to guess that's about 115 thousandths. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, it says 117. Oh, no, 116. Probably about 115. Okay, let's go ahead and move into the meat and potatoes here. This is a knife that if you want to carry it, you're going to have to carry it without a clip, or you're going to have to buy one of those keychain things and then attach a deep carry, like you can get on eBay and find those little steel or deep carry like keychain pocket clips. You could do that. It might not be a bad idea, right? Your other option is to use a slip and put the whole slip in your pocket, or just let this thing, tumble around in your pocket like loose change, right? Whatever you want to do. It's kind of awkward. It doesn't have a pocket clip. Honestly, I kind of would have really liked to see just a little tiny clip on this. I think that would have been kind of neat, right? Little knives like this, they never have clips. It just depends on your preference. But then again, this is the type of little knife that you carry not because there's going to be, people justifying the convenience of this. Like there is a very specific situation in which this is more convenient than, like a smaller, like let's say the mini bug out, right? The mini bug out is more appropriate than this thing and easier. Literally in every way, it is just an easier knife to carry and use, more convenient, right? This is just a tiny little thing that you carry because you think it's cool, and that's okay, right? I think sometimes people have trouble admitting that. They have to force it into a very specific utilitarian or tactical role before they will carry it, right? They really want to carry it, so they have to label it a specific way before they put it in their pocket. You don't have to do that. You can be like, I think this is cool, so I'm going to put it in my pocket. I don't care if it's an inconvenience, right? But the truth is just it's kind of an inconvenience. Getting it out is a little bit of a dangerous thing. There's a good chance you'll throw it or cut yourself, like I said earlier. But you can do it. You'll adapt to it, right? Ergonomics, you're holding on to a little oddly shaped chunk of titanium and steel, and you have a little blade, right? Once you've got the knife out, yeah, sure, it'll cut into packages and things like that. That's pretty much what it's going to be used for. This is obviously not a knife that you're going to take out and do a bunch of hard work with. I wouldn't, right? I mean, it'll lock up securely, but it's a pretty little tiny knife. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on something like this. This is the kind of knife that you make cuts where there's just not a lot of resistance in the material, right? You just want to cut something open and then put it away. Fortunately, access to that liner lock is pretty good. I found that really just disengaging and keeping a two-handed closing is the right way to go, right? I also like that there's a little bit of a fuller here for people who are like, I don't want to mess with the top flipping or the front flipping at all. You can just pinch it with the fuller and open it up. That's the safest way to do it, right? But I know, right? We're all about that fidget factor, so we have to open it in like a cool way with one hand, and it has to make a clack, right? So I get it. Whatever you want to do, right? But this is the safest way to open it for sure. But yeah, once you've got it open, it's got a little bit of a tanto edge, which is kind of funny. If you want to resharpen this, it's just kind of gonna be, you're gonna have to sharpen two different edges, right? The blade itself is kind of neat, and honestly, like there is a little bit of just, I don't know, kind of novelty appeal to this thing because it's a little tiny knife, right? That's kind of how people always ask me about my intro. Or like, what's that little teeny tiny knife in the intro? I'll tell you what it is. For the love of God, I answer this 100 times a day. It's the Curtis Knives ODT. It's freaking expensive. Everybody's always mad at me when they look up the price, right? Number one, it's sold out. Number two, it's like $300 or $400. Maybe it's I don't know. It's a lot because it's a Curtis custom and it's a US made, right? So here's your chance to have a little teeny tiny thing that's almost exactly the same size, right? And for way less money. But people are drawn to little things like this, right? It's interesting. It's kind of neat, right? This is the type of knife that people are always like, oh, cool, let me see that. And you're like, sure. And then your friends cut themselves with it because they don't know. And then they get mad at you or the knife, right? Instead of being like, well, maybe I'm just dumb. Take the time to show people how to open it, right? And then tell them to be careful, because people with pocket knives, for whatever reason, before you hand off a knife to somebody, they will not listen to you. You almost have to repeat yourself twice like a child. You have to say, now wait, before you put your stupid hands on this dangerous object, I want you to listen to me, right? It sounds real condescending, but tell me, how many times have you done that? And your friend's like, oh, yeah, let me see it. And they cut themselves and you're like, geez, your knife's dangerous. No, you're dumb. That's what happened. You didn't listen. That's what happened, right? So before you hand this off to people, because this is going to be, if you carry it, it will definitely be a conversation piece. Explain to them this little thing can cut you easier than a regular pocket knife. I'm telling you, this is very true. I mean, take it from somebody who literally did that to himself, right? Listen to me preach. Anyways, yeah, the blade looks cool. The Damascus on this one looks really nice. I can't really speak, I can't say too much about the cutting geometry here. I mean, it'll cut. It'll slice. It's not like an absolute, don't expect this thing to be a laser beam, either like on the front edge or on the back edge, right? You can see I'm actually having trouble biting into the paper. It's still sharp enough, right? I mean, it's going to cut into boxes and things like that. But it's less of a performance blade and more of like, oh, cool, little tiny stubby sharp thing, right? It'll poke, it'll do all that stuff. For whatever reason, there's jimping up here, suggesting that you can bear down on it. I wouldn't. Here's the designer's logo right here. I am unfamiliar with the designer, but I just want to let you guys take a look at that. Outside of that, yeah, there's not much else to say. The blade and the scales and the fit and finish all the way around, seating of the hardware, it's all very good. It's typical Kansept. There's not really, much to say about that. It's just, it's a good quality build. There is a lanyard hole, which I just, attaching a lanyard to this is even more hilarious than a regular pocket knife. This hole is much better used for a keychain ring that has a deep carry clip attached to it, right? A lot of people say, well, if you attach a big long lanyard, then you can easily pull it out of your pocket. You imagine the size of lanyard you would need to attach to this knife, because this is going to sink to the bottom of your pocket, right? So you need a lanyard like this long. That's stupid. If you want to do that, that's fine. But don't give me that argument. That's silly, right? To have this long of so it's hanging out of your pocket so you can easily pull it. If you really want to do that, attach a keychain deep carry clip, or put it in a slip, or just put the thing in your pocket. Honestly, just put the thing in your pocket and let it just tumble around in there, right? Anyways, we have a couple of standoffs here, just regular pillar construction. The plasma anno on this actually looks really nice. I mean, once you've seen one, I call it plasma anno, but there's a different name for it. I like it. It's not, this is different than Damascus. Damascus is actually at least two different compositions of titanium that have been pattern welded. And so when they anodize it, it anodizes at different rates. And so you see all the different colors. This is just a multicolored surface anno that has this sort of liquid electricity aesthetic to it, right? And I like it. I think it's cool. It's been polished on top of that, so you get that real shiny look. A lot of people are going to say gas station knife because they don't know how to define that, right? They just think color and shiny means gas station, and that's, they'll grow, they'll learn, right? As it just means I'm new and I don't know what I'm looking at. Come on, I'm just kidding. New people, don't get triggered. Come on now. Anyways, this is shiny and blue and has that look to it. If you don't like it, you can just pick a different color combination. You don't have to go with the wild and crazy one. I think this is neat, though. It's appealing. The knife actually does lock out completely and totally solid. There is a stop pin that is internal. You can see it actually attaches to the blade and rides on channels on either side of the steel liner. The internals here are actually milled out for weight reduction, which is something I did not point out earlier. I think that's kind of funny. No blade play up, down, left, or right. As I said, no lock stick, no pivot lash. And this is, it's fine. It's smooth and consistent on the inside. I guess it'll get better over time. There's actually a little bit of a detent click, and this was perfectly centered. I think me playing with it has knocked it. Well, no, maybe it is still. Yeah, that thing's going right down the middle. It's still center. No detent lash. All right. The only reason to pick this up is if you just really want like a cool little novelty knife. I am kind of impressed that they went with M390 on the basic version, but then again, the blade geometry and the blade in general doesn't really accentuate the qualities of M390. So it's kind of like I got an M390 blade for $80 kind of thing, right? It's a self sort of reaffirmation, like, wow, I got a great deal. Whatever. If you like little tiny knives and you think this is cool, go for it. It's made well, right? There is absolutely no reason to seek this knife out over other knives if you're looking for something practical. This is only going to appeal to a small percentage of people who like knives, and that's perfectly fine. You don't need anybody's permission to like this or buy it, right? Honestly, I think they're fine. The price is fine. I can't really complain about it. Kansept knives are made in China, but they're a premium Chinese production company. So yeah, I mean, hey, knock yourself out. I'm not going to say like I recommend that everybody pick this up, but if you like this and you pick it up, you're probably gonna, if you like how this looks, right, you're probably gonna like it, right? It might be kind of fun for a little bit, then it just gets thrown in a drawer, but whatever, you know? It's fine. But if you're looking for a practical, everyday carry pocket knife, even if you work in an office and you don't need something very big, I'm not talking like a little bit of competition. I'm saying there are a bajillion options that make this look like a joke when it comes to practicality. If you pick this up, you're picking it up because you think it looks cool, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Once again, I will link this right down below so you guys can check it out if you want. This went on longer than I thought it would. Thanks again to Kansept for sending this in. This is probably something I will give away on a live stream. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe, because I usually go live on the weekends and give stuff away. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex if you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you'd like to check out my other content. I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.